As explained earlier, data and functions are pretty much treated the same way if a language supports functional style of programming. So that means functions can also be passed as arguments to other functions. Let's take an example. Let's say we want to print numbers from 1 to some max integer. So we write a function, call it numprinter, and pass that integer as argument named up2. And we just iterate over the numbers from 1 to whatever up2 is, and then print it out on the console. Now, what if we want to print only the odd numbers? Many programmers may copy the already written function, give it a new name, say odd number printer or something, and inside it, one may check if I is odd, then print it out on the console. But what if another requirement comes along similar lines, where it is said that not only can I choose to print odd numbers, but also even numbers or prime numbers, okay? So shall we keep copy pasting the code? Whenever you find yourself copy pasting the code, making a few changes to it, you should think about how can you abstract out what changes from what remains the same. And if you can pass what changes as an argument. So in our example, what remains the same is iterating over a range of integers and printing it out on the console. And what changes is if the number should be filtered for printing, right? So we can pass a filter function to the numprinter function like this. And inside the for loop, before printing it out, we can check if the number should be filtered for printing. So this function that we pass should take a number as a parameter and must return a Boolean value. So let's write another function isOdd, which takes a parameter n, and here we can return whether the number is divisible by 2 or not, okay? And now we can pass this function itself to the numprinter like this. So this prints all odd numbers from 1 to 10. Of course, we can also pass some argument, say some function xyz, if it was written, which doesn't take any argument and returns some number, or instead of a function, we can even pass a number for the filter parameter. And JavaScript doesn't complain. Of course, it will complain at runtime when the program executes. And I want you to try and run the numprinter with some invalid argument, but it should be syntactically valid. And that is because of dynamic typing. And that's the reason why many people prefer to use statically typed languages, so that it's easier to catch many such errors at compile time itself. Anyways, dynamically typed languages are usually fun to work with, so don't get scared with it. You just need to be a little more careful. So a function which either takes a function or functions as arguments or returns another function is called a higher order function. Just like in maths, we can define a higher order function h of x as f of g of x. Alright? In this lecture, we saw how to pass functions as arguments and use those arguments inside a function body. Another type of a higher order function is when we return a function from inside a function. But that we will see in another lecture after we are done with closures.